Hi everyone, welcome to our August webinar. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. We'll start off with a little bit about myself. I'm a software developer at FlowFuse. I've been programming for more years than I care to admit. Before joining FlowFuse, I was an engineer in the automotive industry. So I've been programming everything from industrial robots, PLCs, vision systems, SCADAs, HMIs, network equipment, proprietary network, and everything in between. Essentially anything that makes machines build cars is what I was involved with. And I first got involved with Node-RED. You know, I spotted it on a Raspberry Pi I was playing with years ago, a bit of home automation. And I quickly realized that all of these bespoke applications that I'd ever written or used within the workplace could pretty much be replaced with Node-RED, and that's pretty much what I did. So on the agenda, what I'd like to cover is look at the challenges of managing Node-RED deployments. We'll cover what FlowFuse is for the uninitiated, how FlowFuse and its device agent can help with Node-RED deployments, do a few live demos, and lastly, the Q&A. And just to reiterate on what Gray said, put your questions in the Q&A section, please, just so we can keep them separate from the general chit-chat. Okay, challenges of managing Node-RED. I can tell you how I used to do it. And I used to maintain a number of Node-RED instances on servers and on the edge, on devices, on NUCs, and various things. And they all had different Node versions, different Node-RED versions, different configurations. You know, they're all in flux. You know, I'll update that one later. That one's in production, etc., etc. And yeah, the management was a mixture of bookmarks, notes, memorization, and a lot of manual work. And let's just say it was not the most streamlined process, but it was good for learning and understanding the complexities of managing all of these disparate and separate things. So it was useful in that regard. What I always felt like I needed was a centralized solution, a place where I could see, where I could access, where I could manage all of my Node-RED things that I was responsible for. And I think at one time or another, I did start writing something. I wrote an application with maybe an iframe and some links and some configuration file. And yeah, it wasn't very pretty and it wasn't very good. And I had other things to do. I had a job to do. So it didn't really go anywhere. So we just soldiered on with what we had. So what is FlowFuse? Well, I'm betting most of you guys here know what Node-RED is, since you're all here. And you probably have an idea of what FlowFuse is already, but on the off chance that you don't, or you're watching a replay, let me catch you up. So, put my company hat on for this. FlowFuse allows organizations to deliver Node-RED applications in a continuous, collaborative, and secure manner. Key features include collaborative development, managing Node-RED deployments, streamlined application delivery, flexible deployment models. And as a company, FlowFuse, we offer professional support for Node-RED and FlowFuse deployments. Take the company hat off. In basic terms, FlowFuse is a platform that helps you manage your Node-RED instances. It helps you fire up runtimes. It helps you see everything in one place. It lets you see if they're up and running. You know, it doesn't even have to be an organization. You could be a team of one and you can benefit from FlowFuse. So on that, a very quick tour will touch on a small portion of what FlowFuse offers. Okay. So this is FlowFuse application if you haven't seen it. This is generally the layout you will see. It will change over time. We are constantly working on it and constantly improving it. But here we have a team selector. So the teams that I am joined to that I can manage and maintain and view instances and applications. Down the left, this sidebar shows us applications, instances, devices, and a whole bunch of other stuff that I won't go into immediately. Applications are, and you'll see in the next slide what they are, but applications are just a collection of things, a collection of node-REDs, a collection of instances that run either on your platform or remotely, which is what this is about. So here is a whole bunch of applications, but the one I'll be playing with today is webinars. This application has several instances and a whole bunch of devices. If I click into there, I can see Node-RED instances, that runtimes that are running in this platform. So in this particular instance, this is FlowFuse Cloud. These are running somewhere in Ireland on an AWS server somewhere, nice and safely tucked away. What you see in this particular application, this collection of things, is instances. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 of them or so. There are a lot of devices, which are, if you remember, remote runtimes and what we're going to cover closer, and a whole bunch of other things along this top bar here. I'll not go into them too much right now. We'll get to that when we touch on the demos. Great. I think at this point you wanted to sort of demonstrate the remote access or something, or have you got that keyed up a bit later?
Yeah, I've got it. We can do it whenever you're ready to install that. So just give me is that what you're looking at, is installing the device agent?
Not yet. That's coming
very
soon. Just you'd asked me to demonstrate remote access to a device, so I can do that now.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so yeah, just for a bit of clarification, actually, you know what? I'm going to skip to the next slide, and I will touch on that very thing because I'll cover it in here at the same time. So, how can FlowFuse Device Agent...
Switch your slide for me, Steve, real quick. There you go. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
My apologies. Yeah, so how can the FlowFuse Device Agent help? Let's firstly clarify what Device Agent is. That will help with context. So yeah, it's just a lightweight application that takes care of launching and updating your remote instance of Node-RED, your runtimes, them things not living in the cloud. It integrates the runtime into your platform. So that could be cloud, like it is in this case, in this demonstration, or it could be self-hosted. It lets you safely and securely edit flows from your platform to your edge device, which I will demonstrate, which is what I was touching on, Gray. So I jumped the gun a little bit. I'll demonstrate this and explain why it's so powerful and so useful. While you're working, while you're editing your flows on the runtime, it'll capture snapshots. So if you make some breaking change, you will have a snapshot captured, and you can roll back when you make a mistake, not if, when we all make mistakes, rubbers on pencils and everything. So yeah, it sets up communication between your cloud, your platform, your self-hosted, and your remote runtimes. The device agent could be a member of a group for larger pipeline deployments, and for anyone who shies away from things DevOps, me included. It simply means when you have a bunch of devices and you want to update them all very quickly in one go, the pipeline thing, click a button, they all get updated. And if I remember on, I will demonstrate that. In fact, I think I do in one of the demos. So just to clarify for a second what I mean by remote access. So this is where we're at, Graham. Let me switch. So what we have here is the device, a device. It lives somewhere. I'll not explain where at the moment, but it's not on the cloud. It's maybe on my desktop on a Raspberry Pi or somewhere else. And what we can do is we can access Device Editor. So let me just explain. There's a developer mode button here. When I enable that, what that does is it sends a command to the device agent via secure MQTT over WebSockets to initialize an editor session. The device agent then opens a WebSocket tunnel to the Forge platform, and this tunnel is used to proxy all web requests via the platform to the Node-RED instance. So what you see when I show you this editor here, that there is somewhere else. I think it's in Ireland somewhere on an AWS server, but I can see things happening, and I can edit these flows and I can do stuff. So that's extremely powerful for managing your remote devices. Switch it off because the next demo won't work if I don't put that back in fleet mode. I'll quickly explain. We have a concept of developer mode and fleet mode. When it's on, we can edit the flows and we can't do anything else. When it's off, it'll say, are you sure you want to do this? Because you might lose some work. Have you backed it up? Have you made a snapshot? Yes, I'm fine with that. It runs in fleet mode. And what fleet mode means is that it can be command and control from the FlowFuse platform. So this slide is put together to help visualize how everything fits together. And this simple block diagram is showing the arrangement of things. On the left is an application that shows you a bunch of Node-RED instances. And on the right, another application, which has got a few instances in. You can see they've got some intercommunication via what we call the project nodes. And there's several devices hanging off the side, and they're drawn off the side there to demonstrate that they're not in that platform. They're somewhere else, but they still have connectivity and management.
Perfect. So a couple of thoughts on this is, we can deploy on Docker, Kubernetes, and we have some other areas we can deploy on. So kind of touching into this, like, can you define how maybe customers might organize things like with multi-tenancy and applications, and then how those devices and everything kind of organize? Can you kind of touch on that real quick, Steve?
Yeah, I think what you're trying to get to is if I was a large plant with several departments, or maybe it was an enterprise or a corporate with many plants, we have a concept of teams. So that could be, plant 1, plant 2, plant 3, and with role-based access control, we can make people be members of, in or out of these groups, and control and manage their areas. So when you look at that slide and you look at that application, this is just one team within a platform. We can have multiples of these diagrams.
Right. So, and the kind of thinking about that, so if I have like plant A versus plant B with role-based access, I can have like a viewer of the flows versus one that's just an editor of the flows and has all the rights and things like that. So it really becomes easy for me to share that knowledge between the teams, and then get down to the flows and the devices down at the lower level system. So perfect. So somebody said they can't resize the windows. So one of the things is, because we are doing a little bit of kind of screen capture, so we make sure that we get everything. What we'll do is I'll get off the camera, and if that helps you see and visualize, in the top right hand corner you'll also see view, so that you can make sure that you look at just the camera. So I'd say look at the presenter mode, I think, is the view you might be wanting to look for. But back over to you, Steve.
Yeah, okay.
We had a good question that just came through. Might be a good time to kind of talk about an instance versus a device, so we can add a little bit more color there as well.
Okay, yeah. Let me know audio only if there's a problem with my view. If people cannot see the block diagram, then it's quite hard to explain.
I can see your diagram from my side. It might just be a little bit smaller when we have it side by side, depending on the resolution, but I have it very clear on my side.
Okay. Yeah, Gray's taking up half the screen. Okay, great. Turn your camera off.
I'm going. I'll disappear real quick.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Am I still taking up half the screen?
I don't get the same view. Yeah, okay.
I think you're good now. So let's talk about instances versus devices, and I'll just stay away for now.
Yeah, okay. So instances, when we look at this here, there's a whole bunch of instances running in this team. There's a bunch of instances running in this team, and other teams that I don't even know of that exist on the platform. These here are Node-RED instances that are fired up in this case, in FlowFuse Cloud. They're on Kubernetes. They're spun up as required as people create instances. So I can create a new instance. Let's call it some important Node-RED. I can create a new instance, and that there is instantly fired up a new Kubernetes. This is not my area, so forgive me, but a new instance is fired up in Kubernetes, and it just becomes available to your team where you created it. A device, on the other hand, which you will see in the first demonstration, is something that does not run in the platform, but is connected to the platform. It might be a Raspberry Pi. It might be just running a local laptop or computer, or something that's running out in a field. I mean, literally a field, you know, like a farmer's field or something like that. The distinction is what the devices are remote runtimes, and that's where the device agent helps you manage and run and maintain and see the status of that Node-RED remote runtime, whereas an instance lives in your cloud, your on-prem, your or FlowFuse cloud. I hope that's clear.
Yeah, and regurgitating that. So instances live on the platform and devices live outside of the platform. And it's just a way for us to distinguish the two. And the platform itself can live within the FlowFuse platform RR cloud, or on-premise, or within your own cloud environment, whether that be AWS or some other system.
I hope that's clear, guys. So, on our first demonstration. So what I hope to demonstrate here is that it's super easy to set up a device. I mean, like, super easy, super quick. If anyone's ever installed Node-RED, you know, install Node-RED, going into the settings file, adjusting things, putting in all of your security settings and certificates and anything else that, yeah, it's really not simple and straightforward. So what I hope to do is demonstrate that. Now, I had a terminal ready, and as I was talking, maybe it's a memory issue, the terminal just closed on itself. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, it's back. I've got it back. Grand. Okay, let's size that a little bit. Sorry about this impromptu stuff. Okay. So we've got the documentation somewhere. Let's see. Because it's there. So yeah, in our documentation for Device Agent, and you can go and look at this yourself, it's a single line installation. We input that there. That downloads and installs the Device Agent. That's done. And the next thing is to create a device to connect it to. So we go into our device list. When I find that window, we go into our device list. I hit Add Device. I copy this. Oh, you can see this, guys. So there's a command line with a one-time code. I paste that into here. I hit go, and success. It tells me now to start the device agent with the new config. Paste that in. I hit enter. And as you can see, it's firing up. It's connected. It's installing dependencies, etc., etc. And if I go find that device, there we go. And I'm also going to demonstrate. Forget for a second I can see this terminal. You may not have access to a terminal, but I have to wait until it's... Come on,
So
demo
I'm not
gods.
talking too much, Steve, just because I think what happens is I take over the camera and they can't see exactly what you're working on. But
Yeah,
basically, you're installing a device agent. One of the questions that came up was, is a instance a mirror image of what is on the device? Or so really just think of them as completely independent of an instance versus a device. We do have ways, and we'll get into ways to push, let's say, views of an instance to a device, or let's say view as a, I should say, a
snapshot.
flow to a snapshot to a device, and we'll be getting into that. So I'm going to pass it back over to Steve, but we can kind of that'll come through here in a little bit. Yep. Yeah, exactly. You are good now. No camera taking over. So basically, Steve, I'm just not going to put my camera on so people can't see my pretty face until we're ready for it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that device, as you can see, we've got status. It's this thing. I can quit this. I can kill this. It's just running somewhere in AWS land, which I think it's running Ireland. I didn't set it up. Someone set it up for me. But you can see status is coming through, and just to show you something that's super powerful is, I seem to be having a problem here. I think I've got a bandwidth issue, I think, is we can access device logs of the device from remote. Yes, I know what that is. My bad. I can switch on developer mode, and what I discussed before or demonstrated before was I can access the editor of that device. Now, yeah, I've got this terminal, but if I didn't have this terminal, if that wasn't present, there's no reason I cannot communicate with this device. I can restart this device. Let's bring that terminal back up. So just to show you, I can restart that device. There's the Node-RED instance restarting, and if I switch it in and out of developer mode, you'll see that just disabling developer mode. So super quick and easy. The very basic demonstration, just setting up a device agent and connecting it to the platform. But what I hope it tells you guys is, if you want to integrate all of these different things, whether they're in your plant, whether they're down on the shop floor in the same place, or whether they're out in the field, it's really that simple.
Right. And a couple of questions coming in that I might be able to answer. So the device agent sets up a thin kind of agent that communicates back to the FlowFuse platform. That's part of that initial command that was running. And during that process, it connects via port 443 in an outbound secure connection. And then when Steve was going online with it, and it downloads those dependencies. And one of the questions was, where does the MQTT server run? And correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, that runs in the platform itself, and the agent itself just connects to that broker within the platform, and that is how the communication is established between the device agent and the platform. So then it's always listening on, probably, I'm guessing, some topics behind the scene that says, hey, turn on the device agent, and then that's how the communication is secured behind the scenes. So I'll pass it back off to you.
Yeah, so yeah, when developer mode is enabled, the platform sends a command to the device agent via MQTT over WebSockets to initiate the editor session. Where the device agent then opens a secure WebSocket tunnel to the core, to the Forge platform, and the tunnel is used to proxy the web requests via the platform. So what that means is it's outbound, it's not inbound. There's no firewalls to open up and the likes. Again, this is not my domain. Feel free to set up a call, which will give you the information at the end, and the right people will be able to speak to you if you've got concerns about that. But that's how we do it, and it's very secure as a solution. So right, you've lost my track. Now we finished the demonstration. So what we're going to do now is demonstrate more things, so multiple devices, and this will include things like device group and pipeline and stuff like that. So we have a company, Acme Things Makers, and they've got 20 ancient machines on the shop floor. They've got no real intelligence, and they're all building things, but management don't know when they're running, what's the status of them, etc. And so there was a dashboard set up on Node-RED that provides a simple overview of them. Let me just size this up. So FlowFuse on the left there, and the dashboard that's been created is up on the right. And we can see we've got 3 devices there feeding in status. We can see device 1's power usage and device 2's power usage. Device 3 is currently in fault mode and so forth. These are all just simulated devices, they're not real, anybody. But we've got another 17 of them on board. So let's have a look at that and what's involved in that. Stop me at any time, Gray, if I go off track or I'm lost or something needs.
No, you're doing a great job.
So I'll go into my application, which was called Webinars. I'll go to the devices that's in this application. So I know I've got device 1, device 2, and 3. I'm going to now add device 4. I need to deploy the snapshot, and I'm pretty sure it's called status
flows v4, I think, is what it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to accidentally send version 3 down just for demonstration purposes. So that there, I've clicked that there, and if I go into device logs, we can see, so this is the instance wherever it's running in the world. Yeah, and it is started flows, it's running snapshot status flows version 3, and lo and behold, on the screen there, number 4 has turned up and it's doing its job. But what I notice here is this one's running, if you can see that, I'll zoom up a bit. This one's running flows version 2, this one's running flows version 4. It's a bit of a mess. So what can we do about that? And plus, I don't want to do another 16 devices manually. So what we have is a thing called device groups. And this particular device group is showing me all of the members, the membership of this device, the devices that are members of this group, tongue twister. I can edit and add and remove devices and things in there, but that's not really the interesting part. The interesting part is in DevOps pipeline. So I've got an instance on this side and I've got device group on this side and a play button there. So if I press that button and I choose to send snapshot version 4, that begins deploying all of that to all of the devices in that group, the thing that I chose. And what we should see is as things come online and they all download, yeah, the bunch of them are starting to pick up. I can go into the devices themselves. We'll see, I'll pick a number 6 there. So it has a target snapshot of version 4 and it's actually running version 4. I might be too slow to, they might all have been deployed by now. Number 10, number 11. Not yet. Oh, there we go. It's picking up. So yeah, in a very short amount of time, the pipeline has permitted me to deploy to multiple devices.
And Steve, the DevOps pipeline, well, in this particular case, we're showing how to deploy to many devices, but could also be used in a sense of you have a development and then a staging and then like a production. Yeah. And that can be just directly to a single device as well. And so in the cases you're working in a very, let's say, mission critical type solution, you can make sure and confirm in a development environment before you push it to the device. So it's really a way so you don't have to do, let's say, online edits. You can do offline edits through a development environment for your system that can then be pushed even to just an instance. But in this particular case, we're pushing it to a device.
Yeah, absolutely. We can push to instance to device, instance to device group, and most combinations thereof. So yes, we might have a staging as a middle in the pipeline. And that then can feed into a group or a device, a single device, yes. So that gives you that pipeline and the ability to do dev, staging, and production.
Perfect. That's great.
Okay, and next, back to the slides. So yeah, last demonstration. So what I'm trying to convey with this very silly gamified demonstration is that it's not just about sending status of things to a cloud instance. It can be two-way communication and control and various things. So what I've got is a gamified demonstration that will show you. So what it's supposed to be, and forgive my crude graphics and everything else, is end of line of a production line where the vehicle is its last stage and it's getting its hood and its well, let's be English, boot and bonnet fitted, or tailgate and hood fitted. You wouldn't believe I worked in the automotive industry for 25 years. And the gamified part of it is if you, I'm hoping you guys can see the car and my final driver station, because I cannot. I've got that many windows open. I need more monitors. Here we go. So what the idea is that I or you or someone, say Gray must be clicking those buttons. Are you clicking those buttons, Gray?
Yeah, I'm clicking those buttons. I'm sharing them. I'm going to share this out so other people can see this if they want to play along. So I just sent that through the chat. Yeah.
So the little game is that, yeah, if you help build the car, but if you click something at the same time as somebody else, it refits that or removes that part. So, and once it's finished, once the vehicle is finished, you cannot then take the parts off and I can park it. However, if I am not logged in, the demo gods are not with me. The build is incomplete. Oh no, I've parked it. I have parked it. The game part is that I park it, and if I get more park than Gray, I win. Somebody's building this car as we speak. There we go, and I park it, and I've now got 4 parked there. So part of this demonstration, Gray is going to, where he is in Georgia and where I am in the northeast of England, we're both going to be drivers. Yes, forget the logistics for a second. I didn't think about that when I was developing this demonstration. But, you know, Gray will be an additional driver and he will attempt to park the car. So, Gray, over to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to do a quick exercise where I'm going to be joining his system, but I got to boot up. I got a Raspberry Pi that's clean over here, and we'll go through the kind of the deployment process real quick. So, nope, I need to not do that one because that's what I was just shared with chat. I had this queued up in my clipboard. So just let me grab that. So we're going to install the device agent. Just go through this one more time. So Raspberry Pi, clean install. I'm going to paste. I did install Node.js beforehand. We're going to connect to the device agent and install it. And then from here, I'm going to switch back over to our team view real quickly. I'm going to regenerate this configuration while that's installing on the right-hand side. And regenerate configuration. And we're going to paste this and run it. Nope, I just ran the same command. My apologies. I'll let that run through again. And paste that. Perfect. And we'll see that come online on the left-hand side. Did I do the right command?
You need to start the device agent, Gray.
First I need to create, cannot create directory. I need to actually run the device agent, sudo. There we go. And now you probably can't see this, but because my big head is in the way. And I'll clear that out of the way. And then I will FlowFuse Device Agent, start it. And we'll see that come in line over here on the left-hand side. Uh-oh. Well, demo gods were not with us. So yeah, sudo. There we go. Installing dependencies. We now see D2 August 2024 come online. Deploying the driver version 4, no snapshots deployed. It's still installing dependencies, and that will be pulled up in just a second. So I'm going to switch off of this, and I'm going to log into that device right here. And as it should be still kind of booting up real quick and installing dependencies. And we'll see that coming through just now. So yeah, installing dependencies, and we'll go online and we'll go through this final station driver and park it and do all the things and compete with Steve. But while that's kind of doing that, maybe we can kind of pivot over a little bit to some of the questions. And as people are kind of following along, they can see the Acme final line. But let me see. So are there any tools for monitoring and managing workload at scale, like load balancing with multiple devices? So sounds like this is kind of like the questions for high availability, but for in the sense of in the cloud. So Steve, I don't know, we have high availability, and it's where we duplicate an instance, but this is for instances running within our platform. High availability right now, and which is basically load balancing and work balancing at scale for devices, isn't something that we have included at this point in time. But I say that with a caveat to say that one of our team members, Rob, he's actually going through an exercise like this right now, in which he is load balancing devices that are running within, let's say, a server, may not necessarily be quote unquote a device or a physical device. So that is possible. Let's see how this is. Yeah, perfect. It looks like project links connected. So in theory, refresh this, and I should have access to this page. Do you know what page I need to be on, Steve? You're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, great. It should just be /dashboard with your local IP.
Yep, that's what I had.
Colon 8080.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's one way. I don't know if you want to add any more color to that, Rob, for that question. For managing workloads at scale for a device, but we can do that within the platforms for load balancing.
Sorry, is Rob on the call?
Rob's in the chat, so yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, also let's just say, with regards to devices, there are many ways we can skin this, and it is possible to do. It is possible to do load balancing across devices. You can use things like shared topics on MQTT and other ways. You know, it could be hot standby or it could be hot. There are possibilities. It's not out of the box just yet, and it's something we're looking at.
So Rob just sent me a Slack message. He said, what was the question? The question was load balancing on a device. I just know you're going through that exercise right now for managing, let's say, 2 duplicated servers. I don't think it was you need to add any more color than, yeah, that's available. So next question. Is device management available in self-hosted open source community version? So device management is available, but online edits, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, if you can't go online with a device remotely, but you can, let's say, deploy to a remote device with the open source solution. Yeah.
There are some restrictions, you know, obviously it is a platform that's supposed to make things easier for you, but the majority of the features like snapshots and deploying those snapshots to your devices is all there in the open source version.
And that's so right now for starter, that's one of the things. So we do have the device management is available with the open source solution. Next question. We answered that live. So I kind of cover this one. An instance, a mirror image of what is on the device. We kind of touched on it just a little bit. So an instance is living in the cloud, and it can be its standalone solution. And then a device can be its standalone solution as well. So as you think about it, if I go back to the FlowFuse platform and move this out of the way, my apologies, I went the wrong direction. I can go online with this particular device, and then it is kind of its own standalone solution and managing that through, let's say, snapshots and so forth. But Steve, I don't know if you want to add any more color to that, but yes, an instance can be its own system, or it can be a mirror in a way of being a, let's say, a child of an instance. So we've got a lot of that kind of functionality built into that, but we didn't really cover that in too much detail today.
Yeah, let me try and clarify anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, so the device can live in one of two places. It can be a child of an application, or it can be a child of an instance. So if it's child of an instance, it mirrors that instance every time you update and deploy the instance, so long as it's the target snapshot. All of the instances that are, sorry, all of the remote instances, all of the devices that are children of that instance, they will mirror, yes. Whereas application mode, you have your pipeline if you want to do that similar thing. But in the same sense that Gray touched on earlier, where the application-based devices can be individual facilities. You know, not every facility is the same. You might have slight differences. So yes, you can run individual snapshots on individual devices living in an application, whereas typically devices living as a child of an instance or a mirror.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. The next question, I'll hand it off to you. But if the devices are not connected to the internet, can the device continue to operate locally? So I'm imagining in a situation where it was connected to the internet and then it lost communication. Maybe this is a device that has Wi-Fi connection or cell service navigated outside. Why don't you answer that for us, Steve?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's exactly what the device agent is about and why it was developed. So not everybody wants everything to run in the cloud, and quite often it's deliberately designed that way. So yes, once an internet connection is lost, the device agent will continue to run. Of course, if you've got no connectivity back to your core platform, let's say you're hosted on the internet, then you cannot command it to restart or be updated. But once it comes online, it will pick up anything that you've commanded it to do. So for example, if you've updated the snapshot, you've got a new version to go down to that device, but it's offline because of an outage or because of a problem. Once that's cleared, it will pick up the new snapshot and it will deploy to that device. So, but in the meantime, while production is running and you have some sort of connectivity issue, the device will continue to run.
Yeah, I ran through an exercise recently, like a store and forward situation where someone wanted to store, they knew it was on an intermittent connection, so they wanted to store data locally to the device, and then when it came back online to then forward the rest of the data, and that was all managed within the platform. So yeah, it's built to kind of function in that way and function locally. Say the network communication goes down or some other mechanism, it will continue. So you wouldn't lose, let's say, production if you have a network issue. All right, next question. Is it possible for two team members to access and try to change the same instance of Node-RED? What happens was the last change got saved without any record of the previous one. And this kind of ties into the multi-user, I think I always get them mixed up, but the multi-user editing. And that's something that comes along with like Node-RED 4, and it's in a development. Steve, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, because I can keep on going, but I want to make sure I give you some time to kind of add to.
Yeah. So it's It's not directly related to Device Agent, but certainly it does come into play, and we call it multiplayer mode in Node-RED. So trying to stick with the whole Code Red, Node-RED game sort of thing. If Dave's on the channel, he can explain that way better than I. Yeah, so when you run Node-RED version 4, it's still in progress, but the ultimate goal is that it will become much more multiplayer friendly. So if we can do a quick demonstration, great. If we log on to the same instance, for example, and this is the same on devices, but just to make this simple, if we both log on to, let's pick the device monitoring flows.
So is that under what application? Just to let me know so I can find it.
Yeah.
So, and make sure you share your screen for me.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to size things up a bit. So the one called device.
That's on your side.
Can you see that? So I'm going to open the editor for that.
Be right back. All right, I think you're coming through my headset, and somehow my Bluetooth devices just went offline. So
let me check. This is
monitoring webinar. Can you for me real quick, Steve? Make sure I hear you.
So can you open this? And then open the device at the editor for that particular instance, Gray.
I think I might have fixed it. My apologies. So I'm switching over to applications. I'm going to device monitoring webinar.
Yeah, that one there, please. And then if you can open the editor for that.
Mm-hmm. Somehow I think my AirPods. There we go. And opening the editor. There we go. And I'll maximize this so we can see this a little bit better.
So I'm on a flow called Flow 1, and I'm busy working. And I can see that Gray, I don't know how well that comes across the screen, but there's an indicator there. GD is logged in. And on your screen, Gray, do you see my indicator?
I do see your indicator, but I think it'd be better if you kind of zoomed in just a little bit so we can see. Perfect. Thank you. So yes, do you see where I'm located? Since I think it's a new tab, I do not see where you're located and that you've created the new tab just yet.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that when you have, if I deploy these flows.
And now I see review changes.
Yeah. And if you just accept that.
And merge.
And merge. Yeah.
Perfect. And so this is a core feature that's built into Node-RED. So this is a feature that you'll see available to everybody. And I'm sure that there's going to be things that will come along that FlowFuse will kind of bring into, so help, bridge that to kind of the features that you were asking, which you have an admin for those and so forth, to add those extra features with the role-based access. I would imagine that's something on the horizon, not something that's like completely, but I'm sure that people like Nick are already thinking about that.
Yeah, this is definitely still in progress. I wish we could demonstrate where it's going to end up, because we've got some good ideas, and there will be things like mouse track. I think there will be mouse tracking. There's definitely going to be, and it might be it's still in development. There'll be, if I'm editing one function node and you're editing another, you'll know that I'm inside that node. So there's a whole bunch of features coming, and they will be available as soon as they're released on the FlowFuse platform, and soon after when you guys update your installation, be that cloud-based or on-prem.
Right. And so it's not who opens the instance first. There was another question. So basically, the person who has opened the instance first will have the option to accept and merge. If I understand correctly, Steve, it'll be the person that deploys first. The alternative person will then have the ability to merge it with their view. So essentially, what happens is you have two static systems, and when somebody merges, it goes and then lets the other person know that there's been some changes, and they have the opportunity to incorporate those changes into their current view. If they don't incorporate them into their view when they deploy, they will overwrite whatever the other person has written. I mean, I'm sure there's some additional things, but generally speaking, you always want to kind of merge those and then deploy those. That was that.
If you merge your changes in, then your changes are taken, or you can accept the other user. That is going to change very slightly. It's going to be a bit more delta changes, so that things are a lot more seamless. And the goal is to make this as seamless as possible. It's just it's coming. It's not quite there yet. I wish it was.
Mm-hmm. So we have one last question before we kind of start your next step. I have managed Node-RED devices for a few years. All of the devices use cellular networks. One issue we ran into was the traffic overhead of the VPNs. So we have to stop and start the VPN via secured MQTT message. Do you guys keep a VPN active all the time?
But right, so the tunnel is on demand. So if you want to access the editor and we tunnel the traffic through, proxy the traffic through the core, that is on demand and as required. So it's not always up and running, but the MQTT communication between the device agent and the platform is always there. MQTT is designed for this. It's a lightweight protocol designed for this, intermittent, always on, fast, slow type of stuff. And yeah, we don't have any problems like that in the way we've designed our platform. So maybe I mean, we're not using a VPN. It's all secure. Again, not my area. Secure comms, all of the secure things that go with it, but not VPN.
And I would add, just in the sense that that's the whole point of the developer mode, is that essentially when you switch to developer mode and you go online, that's when maybe bandwidth increases during that exercise. And then when you turn off developer mode, it kind of goes back to that lower level of communication with just the MQTT, so that you can kind of manage that that kind of traffic. And we do have customers that are currently leveraging cellular services to do exactly what you've described here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they've got a slow cellular connection, the thing will load slower, and that can be helped. But that's not down to that's down to the nature of cellular connections and things. But because of the design and the way we put this together, we haven't got a problem. It's not a problem for us.
Next question. We keep on rolling in, so you're still hanging in here. So I'm new to FlowFuse, but is there any way to integrate the editor with a Git repo and call the deploy from a CI/CD tool?
Well, there is full API. We publish the API for everything that we do in FlowFuse, and pretty much everything that we can do is a published API. So it's unchanging, or at least if it does change, it'll be a V2 and it'll be documented and so forth. There's not very much at all that is not a public documented API. So if you can do it, if it can be done. As regards to GitHub, and if you mean like storing of flows and things, there is some Git integration coming in FlowFuse, but where the current configuration of the FlowFuse platform is in a database, Postgres or SQLite, depending on how you've set up and installed it. In cloud land, in our FlowFuse cloud, it's Postgres behind the scenes, where everything's held together.
I do believe that there's an issue for Git integration, but I think that's down the line or something like that. So you can always, it's open source publicly. If you go to the Git, you can see what's kind of roadmapped, and if that's something you're interested in, always add comments and things like that through GitHub. And I would just adding on to the basically, depending on how you want to run it, you could leverage the API to do exactly that. Just kind of reiterating what Steve said. So it is possible. It just may not be available through the UI how you're describing it and want it yet. But if you're savvy enough, that's 100% capable. We have customers that are downloading the snapshots and then loading them and storing them in external locations for like a true backup type of system. So it's like stored in multiple different locations, it's online, it's within the platform, and then it's stored somewhere else, whether that be GitHub. And would the inclusion of a VPN example Tailscale cause an issue with your server? The idea being to connect via a subnet to other items such as a PLC. I'm not so sure if this ties to the previous question, but I'll let you go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you lay things out, but typically we are talking about device agent here, and when you come to the likes of PLCs, which are typically isolated within a department for good reason. How we envisage the device agent working, or how it does work with many of our customers, is that the device agent sits inside of the DMZ or in that LAN on that network, and it has connectivity to the PLC, so that your PLC communications, whether it's S7 or MC protocol or whatever that PLC communication is, talks to the device agent, which lives locally. But externally to that, the device agent talks outwards over the communication, over the traffic we've already discussed, up to the platform, so that it's remote manageable. And again, there's no firewall being opened here. We're not the device agent isn't sitting with an open port saying, please come and have a look at me. You know, it has to be commanded with the one-time session token to begin, and initiates an outbound connection to the core platform so that it can be edited and controlled.
Right. And wherever that platform sits, whether that is the FlowFuse cloud or within your corporate environment, it really just depends on how you want to architect it for you. So 100% capable. We have to make sure that you have that configured correctly. But wherever the device agent is sitting, one easy way to say is if it has access to the internet, you can then therefore access the FlowFuse platform because it's port 443 and connecting and communicating, unless something is blocked in that session. And that's kind of like a good way to kind of think about it. I'm sure there's probably caveats to that blocking, let's say, particular whitelisting, things like that, but that's all within like the AWS kind of environment. So I think that we answered that question. We're getting right on time, so perfect. Ooh, got one last question for you, Steve. How can we develop dashboard for multiple devices that are linked to a single cloud instance? So how can we develop dashboard for multiple devices that are linked to a single cloud instance? Okay. So environment variables.
100%. I'll speak, and if it's near the answer, great. If not, we'll maybe you can follow up question. But typically, when the device is like alongside a line-side PLC or somewhere local shop floor or a terminal somewhere within a facility, and you have a dashboard for local control of things, etc., that's all good and all well. But that dashboard for that device will be local to that area and connectivity dependent on that network down on the shop floor. That device's dashboard cannot be viewed up in the cloud. So that might sound like a limitation, but it's that's how it is, and we're toying with ideas of how we might get around that, or we might change it. I don't know, but what we typically do, and I'll switch quickly to my monitor here, and what we have is the concept of project link. So we can project link, send anything we want. So if there's some status coming from your PLC and you need to send that up to a cloud version, you would do this for your devices. You would choose the things you want to display in your cloud dashboard, and you would send that information as bits and bytes and JSON and various status informations. You would send that up, and at the other side, you would then pick that up and display it on your cloud dashboard. Very similar to how we did the demonstration with the which I don't have. Oh, so this demonstration, yeah, this is essentially a cloud dashboard, and the drivers were line side things in that demonstration 3 where we gamified things. So this is getting status information from devices that are running in my place in the UK and in Gray's place in Georgia, and they're transmitting the information, and it's assembled, if you like, and displayed on a dashboard that is a cloud instance. That's how you guys can access this if you wanted to go and have a look at it. I hope that clarifies.
Yeah. And just adding a little bit more color, the project nodes are the access to the built-in MQTT, make sure I didn't get an extra T in there, broker. And so therefore you can send messages from the device to your cloud instance, which can be hosting your dashboards. You can also host dashboards on the edge as well. This is just a way for you to get data to a centralized platform and identify that information for those systems. So that would be through the project nodes, and that's one way to move data if it's not an option to leverage a external broker. So there's just different ways to solve this problem. So I think that was our last question. And so I will pass it over to you, Steve, to kind of close us out. I'm going to be dropping these connections or these messages that Steve's going to go over in chat. So if you want those, Steve.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So let me find where I'm up to. Yeah. So you can give this a go. You can sign up and you get a 2-week free trial. Gray has already confirmed that's still the case. And you can do that today. Gray will send these links into the chat. You can run FlowFuse today yourself if you wanted to, and you can do that open source, or you can have the enterprise version. And if you want to chat with somebody and get a better feel and a bit more, it's really difficult sort of catering to everybody, and these demos that we're doing, you try to make them as realistic as possible, but if you book a demo with us and you get an hour or so with us, and you just be able to describe your environment and where you want to do, what you want to do, etc., we can be a lot more specific with things. And we're on a Q&A, which we've already done. Thank you very much.
Yes, we got the Q&A done. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Steve, for putting this together. I know you've been putting a lot of time and to be able to help us with this. So thank you for doing that. And if you have any questions, and so we have a couple of things. So we have support, and Steve is probably one of the top, I don't know how active, but he's very active on our discourse, which is the forum. So you have any questions that pertain to Node-RED and or FlowFuse, that's a great place to go, because we'll be monitoring that. There's a special section just for vendors, which we fall underneath for FlowFuse. We also have a discourse, Discord, and a Slack, and there's multiple different ways to access us. And within the FlowFuse platform, you'll have a chat feature that's in the bottom right hand corner that goes directly to our ticketing if you have any questions pertaining to FlowFuse itself. So with that, I will close us out. Thank you, Steve, again for hosting this, or for presenting this today, and look forward. We'll be announcing our next webinar next month, and trying to think if there's anything else. If not, thank you again. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. See you guys.
Have a good day, everyone.